I've never been afraid of being home alone. My parents would go out of town for work trips fairly often, and I always looked forward to having the house to myself. I could stay up late, eat junk food, and binge watch whatever shows I wanted. But after what happened last year, I'm a lot more cautious about those quiet nights. It was a Friday night in early spring. My parents had left that afternoon for a weekend getaway, leaving me to take care of the house. I'd just turned 18 and felt like I could handle anything. The weather was nice, so I decided to have a relaxed evening. After finishing some homework, I ordered pizza and settled in for a movie marathon. Everything was pretty normal until around 11:30 p.m. I'd just finished my second movie and was thinking about heading to bed when I heard it. 3 distinct knocks at the front door. At first, I thought it was the pizza delivery guy coming back because maybe I forgot to tip. But then I realized it had been over an hour since the pizza had arrived. Confused, I paused the TV and listened. Silence. I brushed it off, figuring maybe I was hearing things. But then, it happened again. 3 sharp knocks, slow and deliberate. It didn't feel like a neighbor or a delivery person. There was something off about it. I got up, my heart starting to race, and went to the front door. I stood on my toes to peer through the peephole, but the porch light was out. All I could see was darkness. "Hello?" I called out, my voice wavering slightly. No response. I waited a moment longer, my hand hovering over the lock, debating whether or not to open the door. I decided against it and stepped away, my gut telling me something wasn't right. I went back to the living room and tried to calm myself down. Maybe it was just some kids playing a prank. But then, as I sat back on the couch, I heard it again. 3 more knocks, louder this time. I grabbed my phone and texted my best friend, Emma. "Hey, something weird's going on. Someone's knocking on my door and not saying anything." Her reply came back almost instantly. "Don't answer it. Could be a weirdo." I already had no intention of opening the door, but her text made me even more anxious. I stood up and quietly walked to the window, trying to peek through the blinds without being noticed. But as soon as I did, I froze. There, standing in my driveway, was a man. He was just standing there, completely still, wearing a dark hoodie that covered his face. I couldn't make out his features, but I could feel his gaze. I ducked down, my heart pounding, and crawled back to the couch. I quickly texted Emma again. "There's someone in my driveway. I don't know who it is. I'm freaking out." Her response was immediate. "Call the police. Don't mess around." I didn't want to overreact, but I couldn't shake the fear that something wasn't right. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, my hands shaking as I explained what was happening. The operator was calm, telling me to lock all the doors and stay on the line until help arrived. About 5 minutes later, I heard a car pull up outside. I peered out the window just in time to see the figure in the driveway dart into the bushes and disappear. 2 police officers knocked on the door shortly after, and I let them in, explaining everything that had happened. They searched the area around my house, but didn't find anything. No signs of forced entry, no footprints, nothing. The officer said it was probably someone messing around, but I could tell by the look on his face that he wasn't entirely convinced. They offered to have a patrol car drive by the house a few times during the night, which made me feel a little better. But I didn't sleep much after they left. I stayed in my room, all the lights on, listening to every creak and sound the house made. The next morning, when my parents came home, I told them what had happened. My dad shrugged it off as some kind of prank, but my mom looked worried. She didn't like the idea of me staying home alone anymore. And to be honest, neither did I. I've always been a bit of a night owl, especially when it comes to video games. Whenever I had the house to myself, I'd use the time to really dive into whatever game I was playing, staying up way later than I probably should. It felt like the perfect way to unwind, until one night when I realized just how vulnerable I really was. It was a Friday evening, and my parents had gone out of town for the weekend, leaving me alone. I'd planned on spending the night grinding through the newest Call of Duty that had just dropped. So as soon as they left, I ordered some food, grabbed my headset, and planted myself in front of the TV. Hours passed without me noticing. I was completely lost in the game, focused on leveling up and winning matches. The sound of gunfire and explosions blasted through my headphones, making me oblivious to anything happening in the real world. But after several hours of playing, I needed a break. I took off my headphones, intending to go to the bathroom, but the second I removed them, I froze. It sounded like a tornado was tearing through the house. Cabinets banging open and shut, drawers being yanked out, things crashing to the floor. The noise was coming from downstairs, and it wasn't subtle. At first, I thought maybe it was the wind or something had fallen over. But as I stood there, listening, I realized that wasn't the case. Someone was inside my house, and they were tearing the place apart. My heart began to race. I'd been so caught up in my game that I hadn't even noticed someone breaking in. I quickly reached for my phone, my hands shaking, but then I stopped myself. If I made a call now, the noise might alert whoever was downstairs, and I had no idea how dangerous they were. I stood still for a moment, trying to calm down. The sounds continued, more shuffling, items being thrown around. Whoever it was, they weren't being quiet about it. It was like they didn't care if they were heard. I tiptoed toward my bedroom door, opening it just enough to peer down the hallway. From the top of the stairs, I could see faint light flickering from the kitchen, and the noises continued, louder now. Plates crashing to the floor, heavy footsteps moving quickly through the house. I carefully backed into my room, closing the door as quietly as possible and locking it. I sat down on my bed, my phone clenched tightly in my hand, as I dialed 911. 911. What's your emergency? There's someone in my house, I whispered, barely able to keep my voice steady. I think they're robbing the place. The operator asked me a few questions. If I was safe, if I could see the person, if the door was locked. I gave her all the details while keeping an ear out for any change in the sounds downstairs. I heard footsteps moving toward the stairs, the floor creaking under their weight. My heart pounded as I pressed myself against the door, hoping the intruder wouldn't try to come upstairs. They're coming upstairs, I whispered into the phone, my voice trembling. Stay where you are, the operator said. Police are on their way. Stay calm. I held my breath, listening as the footsteps grew louder. They reached the top of the stairs, paused for a moment, and then started moving down the hallway. I heard them getting closer and closer to my room. I pressed my back against the door, my heart racing, terrified they were about to try the doorknob. But just as they reached my door, I heard the faint sound of sirens in the distance. The footsteps suddenly stopped. Everything went quiet for a moment, and then I heard the person bolt down the hallway and back down the stairs. There was a loud bang as the back door slammed shut. Moments later, I saw the flashing lights of a police car through my bedroom window. I heard the police banging on the front door, calling out as they entered the house. I unlocked my bedroom door and hurried downstairs to find 2 officers searching the house. The intruder was gone, but the house was a mess. Cabinets left open, dishes shattered on the floor, drawers pulled out, and dump head everywhere. The officers did a sweep of the area, but they didn't find anything. Apparently, the intruder had broken in through the back door, while I was too distracted by my game to hear it. They had ransacked the kitchen and living room, and who knows what they were planning to do next if the police hadn't shown up when they did. To this day, I double-check every lock in the house before I even think about putting on my headphones again. It was a Friday night, and I had the house to myself. My parents had gone out of town for the weekend, leaving me in charge. At 17, I was used to being alone, so I didn't think much of it. The plan was simple. Stay up late, watch some movies, maybe scroll through TikTok, and call it a night. But that night turned into something I'll never forget. Around 10 p.m., I was on the couch, scrolling through my phone, when I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "I can see you." I rolled my eyes. It had to be one of my friends trying to mess with me. I sent a quick reply. "Nice try, guys. You're not scaring me." A minute later, another text came through. "You're home alone, right? Why are you sitting on the couch?" That made me pause. My heart skipped a beat as I glanced around the room. Was someone actually watching me? My fingers hovered over my phone as I typed back. "Who is this?" The response came almost instantly. "You know who I am. You shouldn't have left the back door unlocked." I jumped off the couch and sprinted to the back door. I yanked it open, double-checking the lock. It was secure. This is just a prank, I thought to myself. I locked the door earlier. It's fine. But then, another message appeared on my screen. "Did you lock it just now?" Too late. My stomach dropped. I called the police, feeling my hands shake as I explained the situation. They asked if anyone had tried to enter the house, or if I had seen anyone, but there wasn't much they could do without a real threat. "Call us if they actually try to break in," the operator said. Frustrated, I hung up and blocked the number. It had to be a joke, right? Probably some dumb prank one of my friends was pulling. They'd be laughing about it tomorrow. I tried to shake it off and focus on watching my movie, but I couldn't help feeling uneasy. By 1 a.m., I was exhausted, so I decided to head to bed. I figured that if I just slept, I'd wake up and laugh about the whole thing. But at 2:30 a.m., my phone started blowing up. The loud buzzing woke me, and I groggily grabbed it from my nightstand. My heart sank when I saw the messages. It was a different number, but the tone was all too familiar. "You really thought blocking me would stop this?" Another message came in before I could even process it. "You messed up. I'll just have to come talk to you in person." My stomach churned with fear as the messages kept coming in, one after another, each one more aggressive than the last. Whoever this was, they weren't just playing around anymore. They were furious. And then, the final message. "I know you're in there." I froze as my phone buzzed again, this time with photos. The first one showed the outside of my house, the front door, the windows, the driveway. I could see my car parked there. The next one was taken from the side of the house, close enough to show my bedroom window. The last picture made my blood run cold. It was a close-up of my bedroom window, from the outside, taken just a few minutes ago. I leapt out of bed, my hands shaking as I called the police again, my voice barely holding steady as I explained what was happening. "There's someone outside my house," I whispered, trying to stay calm. "They're sending me pictures of my house and threatening me." The dispatcher's tone changed instantly. Stay inside and lock the doors. Officers are on their way. I didn't wait for anything else. I ran to my parents' bedroom, locked the door, and hid in the closet. My heart racing so fast I thought I might pass out. I sat there in the darkness, clutching my phone, praying the police would show up soon. Every minute felt like an hour as I strained to hear any sound outside. Was someone at the window? Were they inside the house already? After what felt like an eternity, I heard sirens in the distance, getting closer and closer. Relief washed over me as I stayed hidden, waiting for the flashing lights to finally stop outside my house. The police arrived and searched the entire property, but the person who had sent those texts was long gone. There were no signs of forced entry, no footprints, nothing. But the photos, they were real. Someone had been outside, watching me, close enough to snap those pictures, and I'd never even known. That was the last time I stayed home alone. And to this day, I keep my phone close, the number of the local police station saved and ready to dial at a moment's notice. Thanks so much for listening to Nightmare Narratives. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can be reminded when we post a new video every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central Time. If you have a story you'd like to hear read on the channel, email it to us at officialnightmarenarratives@gmail.com, and you might just hear your story featured in a future episode. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.